In 2016, Toyota bought back a pickup truck from an owner in Louisiana. It was a Tundra, and the odometer read 1 million miles. Toyota did not put it in a museum. The engineers tore the engine completely apart to see what 1 million miles of real work actually does to their hardware. And what they found was a bottom end that was still measuring inside factory tolerance. That truck was not a garage queen. It was a working vehicle that had been driven hard for 9 straight years. Today, we are looking at 5 Toyota and Lexus engines that regularly pass 300,000 miles, and the specific engineering decisions behind why they do it. If this is the kind of engine-level breakdown you want more of, take 1 second and hit subscribe, because this channel goes deep on what actually survives and what quietly destroys itself at 90,000 miles. Here is the idea that ties all 5 of these engines together. Toyota, for most of the 1990s and 2000s, refused to chase headline horsepower numbers. Picture a spec sheet from that era next to a modern turbocharged 4-cylinder. The modern engine might make 130 horsepower per liter. Almost every engine on this list makes somewhere between 60 and 80. That gap is not laziness. That gap is thermal headroom, lower cylinder pressure, and parts that spend their entire service life operating well below what they were designed to survive. We start with the 1UZ-FE, and this is the one most people underestimate. It is a 4.0-liter quad-cam V8, and it launched in the 1989 Lexus LS 400. Picture that car now, the original LS 400, that slab-sided sedan in dark green with the gold badging. Toyota famously demonstrated it by stacking champagne glasses on the hood while the engine idled. Under that hood is an aluminum block with cast iron cylinder liners, 6-bolt main bearing caps, and a crankshaft that is widely documented as forged steel. It made roughly 250 horsepower from 4 liters, which is barely over 60 horsepower per liter for a flagship luxury V8. Toyota reportedly spent an enormous development budget on this engine and then detuned it. The real-world proof is well known. There is a 1996 LS 400 that passed 1 million miles on its original engine and original transmission, and it was documented publicly as it happened. The one item you cannot skip is the timing belt. This engine uses a rubber belt, not a chain, and that belt also drives the water pump. The commonly recommended interval is around 90,000 miles, and shops frequently quote somewhere in the range of $800 to $1,500 for the belt and pump together. Skip it, and you are gambling on a $2 part. Second is the 2JZ, and I want to cover both versions, because most people only talk about one of them. Picture a Mark IV Supra with the hood up, that long cast iron inline 6 sitting nose to tail in the engine bay. The naturally aspirated 2JZ GE made around 220 horsepower and went into the Lexus GS 300, the SC 300, the IS 300, and the base Supra. The turbocharged 2JZ GTE went into the Supra Turbo and the Toyota Aristo, rated at 320 horsepower in United States specification. Here is the engineering reason both of them last. The block is cast iron with a closed deck design and 7 main bearings, so the crankshaft is supported on both sides of every single connecting rod. The crankshaft is widely reported to be forged steel, and the turbocharged version added oil squirters that spray the underside of the pistons to pull heat out of them. That bottom end is so overbuilt that the tuning world routinely doubles the factory power output on unopened engines. Now flip that around. If the stock internals survive 600 plus horsepower in a tuned car, imagine how little stress they see in a stock Lexus GS 300 doing highway commutes. That is why high-mileage 2JZ cars showing 300,000 miles on original internals are commonly reported by owners. The maintenance item is the same as the 1UZ-FE. It is a belt-driven engine, and the belt and water pump need to be done around every 90,000 miles, regardless of how good the car feels. If you are getting value out of this, subscribing genuinely helps the channel keep making these. Third is the 1GR-FE, the 4.0-liter V6. Picture a 2007 FJ Cruiser in that bright yellow, or a first-generation Tacoma with the engine bay open. This engine also went into the 4th generation and 5th generation 4Runner, the Hilux, and the Land Cruiser Prado. It makes about 236 horsepower in early form and around 270 after Toyota added dual variable valve timing. That works out to under 60 horsepower per liter in a truck engine that was designed to be lugged at low revolutions. It uses a timing chain instead of a belt and an aluminum block with cast iron liners. Owners frequently report 300,000-mile examples in Tacomas and 4Runners with no internal work. The item not to skip on this one is coolant service and radiator condition, particularly on 2005 through 2010 Tacomas, where the factory radiator has a well-documented internal failure mode that lets coolant into the transmission fluid. Fourth is the 3URFE, the 5.7-liter V8. And this is the engine from the million-mile Tundra in the opening. Picture a 2008 Tundra Crewmax with a trailer behind it. This engine also powered the Sequoia, the Land Cruiser 200 series, and the Lexus LX 570. It makes 381 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque, which sounds like a lot until you divide it out. That is roughly 67 horsepower per liter from a 32-valve V8 with a forged steel crankshaft and a timing chain. Toyota designed it around sustained towing loads, not around a dyno number, which means the everyday duty cycle for most owners is nowhere near its limit. When Toyota disassembled that million-mile truck, the reported finding was minimal wear on the internals. There are two things to watch. The first is the cam tower oil leak that is widely documented on roughly 2010 through 2019 Tundras, where the sealant Toyota used between the cam towers and the head begins to seep. It is not an engine killer if you catch it, but the labor is brutal, and shops commonly quote somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. The second is the secondary air injection system on earlier trucks, which Toyota addressed under a warranty enhancement program. Neither one destroys the bottom end. Both punish neglect. Fifth is the 2GRFE, the 3.5-liter V6, and this is the engine most of you have actually driven without knowing it. Picture a 2012 Camry, or a Sienna minivan, or a Lexus RX 350. It made between 268 and 280 horsepower depending on application, and it ran a timing chain, dual variable valve timing, and an aluminum block with cast iron liners. High mileage examples are common in rideshare and taxi service, where Siennas and Camrys crossing 300,000 miles are frequently reported by owners. But this one has a specific and non-negotiable maintenance item. On roughly 2007 through 2010 models, Toyota used a rubber oil supply hose feeding the variable valve timing system, and that hose can crack and dump engine oil rapidly. Toyota issued a campaign to replace it with a redesigned line containing a metal section. The part itself is inexpensive. The consequence of ignoring it is a seized engine. If you are shopping for one of these from that model year range, verifying that this line was replaced should be the first thing you check. So here is what actually connects all five. None of these engines were class-leading on power. The 1GRFE was outgunned by every competitor in its segment. The 3URFE made less horsepower per liter than the domestic V8s it competed against. The 1UZFE was a detuned flagship, and every one of them is still running past 300,000 miles, while a lot of higher output engines from the same years are already scrap. Toyota bought durability by leaving margin on the table, and margin is invisible on a spec sheet. It only shows up at 200,000 miles. The pattern here is worth internalizing before your next purchase, because the engine that impresses you at the test drive is rarely the engine that is still there in 15 years. If you want more of these engine-level teardowns, subscribe and tell me in the comments which engine you think deserves a spot on this list that I left off.